again and welcome back to the channel. Today I am checking out the battle damaged version of Robocop from Hot Toys. I have already covered the diecast version of Robocop, so if you haven't seen that review and you're interested, go back and have a watch. Also, there will be a few spoilers for Robocop, so if you haven't seen it, then why not go and watch it. It's an absolute classic. I did get this figure a few years back. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it. He was very expensive, unfortunately. And there is also a deluxe pack which comes with this version of Robocop and Officer Alex Murphy. Unfortunately, you can't get Alex Murphy by himself. You can only get him in that 2-pack. And when he does come up on the aftermarket, he's very, very expensive. Regardless, I'm really pleased that I have this guy in my collection. So taking a look at the packaging, very, very nice. You can see the back of Robocop's dome there, but also that nice holographic Robocop battle damaged version. And he's an older figure, MMS 265. On the side, nothing really of note. And then on the back, they left out all the people that were involved with the actual figure. I think that is on the inside sleeve. So we'll take a quick look at that. Yep, there we are. So the OCP motif and then all the people that were involved with making this figure. So let's take a look. Okay, so here he is with all of his accessories. Starting off with a die-cast sidearm, plastic sidearm, left and right articulated hands, a right bloody data spike hand, 3 jars of baby food labels, and 1 massive rifle. He also comes with a hexagonal stand and crotch grabber. So let's take a closer look at these accessories. Starting off with his sidearms, these are identical to the previously released Robocop. This is the die-cast version. And then here is the plastic version. Plastic version is articulated and it has a removable clip. The die-cast version is just straightforward. No articulation, no additional paint application, just this nice matte black. Then we also have 3 of these jars of baby food. They do come with 4 labels. I haven't used mine, just no particular reason, just haven't. But you can peel them off and then just put them straight on. Looks like they are sculpted inside. It's difficult to tell. And they're just plastic. And then here we have the articulated hands. These are nice, but they don't really work that well. Or maybe it's just me, I can't seem to get him to hold his weapons that well. Also, these are a slightly lighter colour to the actual figure, and I'll get to that a little bit later. It's like a very dark grey as opposed to the wrists on the figure, which are black. And then we have this very bloody data spike. This is obviously what he uses to kill Clarence Bodiger at the end of the movie. You can see that they've put some blood all over it. This is all sculpted, so the fingers are not articulated at all. And it is just a plastic spike. And then finally, here is that massive assault rifle. I had to look this up. This is called the Cobra Cannon, Assault Cannon, Cobra Assault Cannon, I believe. And this is a monster. Unfortunately, I can't get him to hold it. There are some photographs I've seen on the net of him actually holding this, but I just can't seem to get him to hold it, at least not as if he's shooting it. But this is a really, really nice piece. It is all plastic, so it doesn't have much weight to it. It's not die cast. As you can see, it does have this articulated bipod, and also has plexiglass, or looks like perspex or something, in the actual scope itself, if you can see that. And it does have some articulation here. The chamber has this spring-load mechanism. And it does have some scuffs and scrapes, but also something that I wasn't aware of until this review was the clip is removable. And have a look at the size of those rounds. So really cool. There we are. So that's it for the accessories. And then moving on to the actual figure, let's start off with the head sculpt, because I think this is what everyone was waiting for. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the previous version of Robocop, they didn't get the likeness to Peter Weller, so they couldn't release a unmasked head until they eventually got the license. So there's this figure, which you can also get in a 2-pack, which has the Alex Murphy and this. So obviously they wanted to go all out with the likeness, and they have absolutely nailed it. Have a look at that. Some actors, I guess, it's difficult to capture their likeness. People like Mark Hamill is a good one, Harrison Ford. There always seems to be something off with those figures. And then maybe others, they can just capture it very easily. Perhaps they've had a little bit more of a head start here because you don't have any hair to sculpt. You also have this very expressionless look, which is very much what Alex Murphy had when he was Robocop. So maybe that's it, but regardless, absolutely nailed it. You can see that they've actually given him a very subtle 5 o'clock shadow all across the jawline. The eyes, not sure if you can really pick that up. Let's see if I can just bring this forward a touch. It's a bit better. So the eyes are really, really well done. Yeah, unfortunately, so I'm not really capturing that very well. Let's just adjust this light a touch. There we go, a little bit better. But what really gets me about this figure, in particular this head sculpt, is this fleshy piece that goes all the way around, because that's very much like the movie. When you first see him take his helmet off, he has this real kind of macabre pinning where the flesh is pinned over the actual metal skeleton or metal skull. And they've nailed it here. It is so well done. The attention to detail. You can see the rust here in that, I guess that's like the audio piece for his ears. He's got this blood specks all across the back. He also has that tinge that he has in the movie, that slightly bluish purple tinge to the steel. Underneath there's some more components here, like some pistons. And then he even has these, they're not wires, they're like soldered steel. Yeah, I think it's soldered steel, but you can see from the top here all the way down into some sort of circuitry box. He has a marquee on his head as well, which I'm pretty sure he does have that in the movie. Similar over here, a couple of data plugs. So they've just absolutely nailed it. It is so, so good. One of the best face sculpts I've seen Hot Toys produce so far. And this, I guess it's not really designed to come out, but it actually does come on and off quite easily. Here you have some more pistons or wires. These are really quite soft and they just fit into these pieces here. So just there and there. So if you line them up, there we are. There we go. No, that one's not quite lined up. There we go. Okay, so it's a bit tricky with one hand, but there we are. So sculpt is back on. And here he is, battle damaged as fuck. Look at him, he is totally wrecked. Okay, and here he is, and battle damaged is an understatement. He is totally wrecked. So he had a beating from Ed 209, then he was blasted to pieces by the Detroit Police Department. Then in the final few scenes of the movie, he takes on all of Clarence's goons. So he's absolutely wrecked at this stage. So taking a closer look at the armor, He's got these massive pieces of metal missing here on the left-hand side of him. You can actually see all the circuitry and the pistons underneath. On the right-hand side, he's got some bullet holes, and it looks like oil. It's got this like dark brownish tint, so it almost looks like blood. I guess oil is Robocop's blood. Massive bullet holes and scorch marks here. You can see he has these two loops here on the collar, and on this side one is absolutely destroyed. On the shoulder, you can also see that his shoulder plate is also cracked in two. Again, more oil coming out, some more exposed circuitry and wires at the back. Moving further down, it just doesn't end. Just doesn't end. I can't go over all of it because I'd be here all day, but it is so well done. The attention to detail just doesn't stop. The back of the armor is probably the cleanest out of the whole figure. There is some marks here from the oil and so on, but everything else has at least one or two sculpted dings in it or scuffs. The back doesn't. The legs also, the right hand leg, it does have the open and closing mechanism for his weapon, and it just opens up like this, so that pops open like that. There we are, and then his holster comes out. Unfortunately mine, you see this white pad here, so that's actually glued on, and I guess it's to protect the metal if you're putting the die cast pistol in, but mine has come down, and I could just stick it back, but because of that it catches every single time. I don't really use that typically anyway, but you can see here on the actual armor, absolutely wrecked, riddled with bullet holes and scuffs. There's actually even a complete tear in the armor here. And the other side is not much better. Massive big split in the armor. You can see this blue wire running the whole length of it. Not sure if you can see that, but there is this blue electrical wire that runs all the way down the side of there. Some more bullet holes all around his legs. It's absolutely wrecked. The left hand side, not much better. Massive bullet hole here, and then some more scratch marks. Yeah, he's just totally, absolutely wrecked. Before I move on to articulation, here is a side-by-side comparison with the die-cast Robocop. As you can see, they are almost identical in terms of height, build, everything is the same, but obviously the left-hand side is totally battle damaged. But also the right-hand side, the black is much higher gloss than the left. The left is a dull, matte finish, the right is this high gloss finish, and I don't mind that. It does add to it because he is battle damaged, he is worn, but also something which is a little bit annoying, the hands for the battle damaged version, the articulated hands, they're not quite as dark as these wrist guards. Probably can't really see on camera, but these, they're not as black as this version, but they are much darker. That fist there goes well, but as soon as you put this on, it's just ever so slightly lighter. Yeah, so that's the only gripe I have, and it is a small gripe, but apart from that, they've done a fantastic job. Okay, so in terms of articulation, starting off as always with the head, he does have quite a good range of motion at the head. So he gets all the way back, and he gets down to about there. Complete rotation. And as mentioned earlier, you can detach the head, but just be cautious. He has these cables running up on each side, and those just need to plug in underneath. At the shoulder, he gets complete 360, and these are quite easy to pop out, and they extend. At the elbow, up to about there, and that's it. This isn't ratcheted. It does have this rubber inlay. You can see that there, which works really, really well. It's in keeping with the figure, but also it hides any pegs. And then he does actually get a lot of movement at the wrist on the peg, but also at the forearm, he gets complete 360 as well. And these actually come off. I don't think you need to take them off, but it's literally just a sleeve that pegs in. And then the hands just peg onto the ball joint. He does get some rotation, but I don't like to push it too much. Probably to about there. Around to about there. One thing which I didn't mention earlier is you can actually take this off completely, but I'm not entirely sure what the purpose is. My guess is they used the exact same build for the previous version, which has a built-in audio. So that's why you get this speaker here, but it's largely redundant. He doesn't have anything to say. This doesn't come off. So I think they just saved a bit of cost there by using the same one, and why not? But it does come off. And while I'm looking at that, you can actually interchange it. I don't know why you'd want to, because it wouldn't really match the look. So this is from the die-cast version, and it does clip on. So if you wanted a bit of a cleaner look, you could do that, but yeah, it doesn't really make sense considering everything else is battered, but this chest plate isn't. And then at the legs, so he does actually have two parts of articulation here at the upper waist and then a little bit at the lower waist, but it's very, very slight. The legs up to about there, all the way back. It's the knee that was ratcheted, not the elbow. Now I remember. So the knee is ratcheted similar to the die-cast figure. So you get a good range of motion there. Before we move on to the ankle, at the back he has these tendons which are articulated. So they have a ball joint at the top and then an attachment down here, so it's like a piston, and these actually can pop off. They're not supposed to, but if they do pop off, it's quite easy just to pop them back on. And then for the feet, all the way up and down to about there, and then he does have a little bit of a toe hinge, but it doesn't really work that well. It just sort of clips back. So I guess if you want to get imposed just off his toe, you can ever so slightly, but yeah, it's largely redundant. There we are. And then at the foot, he gets forward to about there, and then back to about there. He does have some side to side, but very limited. And he has this toe hinge, but because it just snaps back, it's largely redundant. You can't really pose him as if he's coming off the tip of his foot. Yeah, so it is there, but it doesn't really do much. The articulation is almost identical to the die-cast version. A little bit easier with this one because he's plastic and not die-cast, so he doesn't have that weight. But for an armoured figure, the articulation is really good. Okay, so my final thoughts on the Battle Damaged Robocop from Hot Toys. This is yet another example of Hot Toys getting it right. They've absolutely nailed this figure. You can tell so much love and attention has gone into the sculpt, the overall look, the paint application. everything is top notch, but it's the face sculpt. The face sculpt is so well done. They've absolutely nailed Peter Weller here. It's so good, I would liken it to the Hugh Jackman face sculpt for Days of Future Past. Another 10 out of 10 sculpt. In terms of the accessories, he is quite light, but I don't really know what else you would need. The inclusion of that massive assault cannon is very, very cool. The articulated hands, I'm not a huge fan of them, and I do struggle to get him to hold anything. Also, they are a slighter light shade than the rest of him, which is a little bit weird, but it's not really a big problem. The overall look is just so well done. He looks fantastic when he's displayed. The only real problem with this figure is if you want him, then you're probably going to struggle. Not only is he a few years old now, but he's also very difficult to get. You can get the 2-pack with Officer Alex Murphy, and I would love to have that in my collection, but he goes for a lot of money. So if you are interested in this figure, then I would recommend that you check out William Wang's Facebook page. I'll put a link in the description. Figures like this do pop up from time to time, and he always does very good prices. So that about wraps up this review. I certainly hope that you've enjoyed it, and if you haven't checked out the diecast review I did a few weeks back, then I'll put a link for that one. Check it out. That's also very good figure. So until next time, take care.
Wait a minute. Taking this kind of personal, aren't you? Come on, man.